Rightio, let's go over the live letter from the producer 20 for those of you who never watched it. Majority of the information in this live letter was already known, but I'll go over them anyway for the sake of the video. Firstly, this is what the new login screen looks like for Heavensward. Beautiful, isn't it? The main scenario has more than 50 hours of gameplay, which is nearly as long as the entire 2.0 story, and maybe even longer, and of course, additional main scenario quests will be added throughout the entire 3.x lifespan. And as always, there's going to be side quests for all currently existing and new jobs, taking you all the way up to level 60. I'll go over the jobs later on in the video. The Aura are split into two subcategories like all races in the game, the Aura Reen and the Aura Zayla. The Reen are closely related to the Domans, which has a Japanesey style theme, whilst the Zayla have led a more nomadic lifestyle, thus the unique naming conventions for both of the two subcategories. New areas. There's a total of 9 new zones in Heavensward, including Ishgard and the Floating Continent, and each zone is 50 to 100% larger than any of the 2.x zones. That's absolutely huge. Imagine having maps twice the size of Coeurth Central Highlands to explore. That's absolutely phenomenal. I have a few pictures of one of the new zones, which I'll be showing you later on in the video, and I'm telling you, it's huge. Of course, we've got new fates, boo, but we also get loads of new mounts as well. Speaking of mounts, let's discuss flying mounts in a bit more detail. So here's our Dark Knight on the Collector's Edition Griffin mount in one of the new zones in Heavensward, and as you can see, we can completely fly in X, Y and Z coordinates in the air. It's completely free control. You can use a jump button to raise yourself up and fly into the air, and you can point your camera downwards if you want to fly downwards. Also, if you go over the edges of a piece of land, your flying mount will automatically start flying. Flying mounts on the ground will move at 0.9, which I assume 1 is the base walking speed. However, in the air, they're moving at what they call 2, which is extremely fast, and they're even considering making flying mounts even faster. Though, walking or typical ground mounts are always going to be faster than mounts in the air, so they're not completely useless, which is fair, I guess. Personal chocobos can also be taught to fly through a special quest trainer, and in the future they're planning on making other mounts, such as the Ahriman mount, into flying mounts, or at least capable of actual flight. What's also amazing is the depth of view in these areas. As you slowly get higher and higher into the sky, you can see more of the landmass. Just look at how huge this zone is. It's absolutely crazy. And the zone just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And of course, we have the 3 new jobs, the Dark Knight, the Astrologian and the Machinist. All 3 jobs will be unlocked when you enter Ishgard through their respective job quests. Also, 3 of the new jobs start at level 30. So this means Hawk Manor and Brave Fox's Long Stop are going to be absolutely nightmare dungeons at the beginning of the game, with no one actually being able to know how to use the jobs correctly. So be warned. The level cap is at 60, and you can gain EXP beyond level 50 as soon as you install 3.0 and you log in. All of the new jobs will get new abilities, though these new abilities can only be unlocked through job quests, so you must ensure to do them all from level 50 to 60 if you want any of the new skills. One thing we do know is that the Paladin will obtain a new ability in the Savage Blade combo, but it will not replace the Rage of Halloween, but rather it will complement it in the way that Storm's Eye complements Storm's Path for the warrior. Each of the level 3 limit breaks will now be unique to each job, but I assume they're only talking about the animation here. Not every single job will have a completely different limit break, but only level 3 will be unique. Level 1 and level 2 limit breaks will still remain the same, so yes, a monk will still be able to pull out a sword from his arse mid-combat. Nice. There's also new job armor, and here's some really tiny images. It's really hard to see and make out, but hopefully you guys can enjoy them. Talking of armor, of course, we'll be getting the old boring tomestones again. We're going to have two new types of tomestones in 3.0, the Allegan tomestones of lore and the Allegan tomestones of esoterics. Laws have no restrictions, but esoterics, just like poetics at the moment, will have a weekly restriction to the amount that you can gain. Next up, we have gathering and crafting. Gatherers and crafters will be level capped at 60 in 3.0 and will also learn new actions through leveling up, quests and a new specialist system. New recipes will obviously be added, and we'll also get to see the introduction of the new grade 5 materia. There's also a new system called scripts, which I'll briefly be going on all throughout this little section. You can be a specialist in 3 Disciple of the Hand classes which are above level 55. You can also choose and switch out your chosen specialist classes using your scripts. Gatherers will also have a similar system to the specialist system. It's called favors. As a gatherer, you can use favors to discover new and rare nodes, but your favors will have a time limit, unfortunately. There's also a new folklore system for high level gatherers. Essentially their endgame content, sort of like master books for the Disciple of Hand classes. Rowena also has a new sort of game called collectibles. They're essentially never-ending fetch quests where Rowena will ask you to go out and get her a specific item, a rare item, and you'll have to go out and get it for her. As rewards, you can get a very nice amount of XP to aid leveling from level 55 to level 60, as well as more scripts. You can start these collectible fetch quests at level 55, and Yoshida said that these collectible quests will be a very good way to level up your crafting professions from level 55 to 60. Now, they haven't really specifically said what we can do with scripts other than the fact that we can use them to change out our specialist jobs, but scripts are in 2 sets. Red scripts of crafting and gathering, and blue scripts of crafting and gathering. Red scripts are completely unlimited, whereas blues are on a weekly limit, similar to Allegan tomestones. New content, and this is what I really only care about, really. So just to quickly go over the boring stuff, we're going to have high level leave quests, new fates, new large scale fates, which I assume are the new Odin and Behemoths type stuff, new field enemies and elite marks. Goddamn hunts. In other news, we're also going to be getting 8 absolutely brand new instance dungeons at launch, which is cool, I guess. I suspect there's going to be most probably 3 to 4 new dungeons at level 60, whilst the remaining couple of dungeons are going to be level 52 to level 58 leveling dungeons. Alexander, as we all know, is going to have 2 modes, normal mode and now what they're calling savage mode. Then 2 new primals, Bismarck and Ravana, which will have their normal and hard modes as well. I assume normal mode is going to be the story type, whereas hard mode is going to be actual endgame content. There's also going to be some new frontline stuff in the work, a new map, and of course frontline's gear. Moving on, we have free company airships. There's no new information here really, other than the fact that we have to buy our free company basement with Gil, and our free company airship system will continue to be expanded throughout the entire 3.x series. On to existing system updates. Now we're going to have a few new retainer ventures, we're going to have access to the Ishgardian market so we can actually trade there, as Ishgard is going to be pretty much our new central hub. We're going to have new sightseeing logs, new triple triad cards, as well as 2.0 adjustment to all existing content. The party finder is also going to be undergoing a few new changes. You'll be able to challenge content with fewer party members. For example, you can go into a dungeon with 2 people that previously required 4 players. It's unknown whether you can do solo dungeons. We'll also have new roulette types, which I don't know what that means really. And for an additional challenge for die-hard players like myself, you can sync content difficulty to the member with the lowest item level in your group, which will make it as difficult as when you first ever encountered this specific dungeon. You'll also be able to do the same for the existing Binding Coil of Bahamut, so new players can experience what it was like when we first encountered it at the release of 2.0. Just imagine it, doing turn 5 for example, Twintania in a level 150 gear, but the entire content has been synced up to level 150 difficulty. Imagine it when your main tank Paladin is receiving 20k damage from a death sentence in the face. Bloody heck. Or imagine even doing a turn 9 in eye level 1 difficulty. That's absolutely hilarious, and I absolutely cannot wait for this little system to come into place. I'm gonna have so much fun with this, seriously. There's also going to be updates to the loot system for normal and hard mode raids. For example, rolling and loot in Alexander Normal will be different than in Alexander Savage mode. They never went into detail into the changes between the two, but you know, whatever. I guess we can kind of gauge as to what they're going to be doing with the next things that I'm going to be saying. The loot system will also be changed for the primals. In 3.0 onwards, you will receive tokens for your efforts in certain duties, and after collecting an X amount of tokens, you'll be able to trade them in for weapons and gear that you like, instead of relying on absolute RNG for your loot. And I assume the token system is also going to be in place for the Alexander Savage mode, and the reason for that is going to be later on in the video. There's also the new Lootmaster system. The party leader can have the option to open up a menu where he or she can decide who receives loot in the party. The party leader can also set up an auction where each party members can bid with Gil to pay for items, and of course the higher bidder will receive the item. I guess this will kind of help farm parties who are always farming for ponies, or groups that actually go and sell content runs and pieces of content to players. But I do wonder how they'll balance it, as it seems too easy for the party leader to just switch on auction mode, hoard up all the loot and just gain mass amounts of gil from all the auctions. You know, I hope that Yoshida has thought about these kind of systems in place that, you know, players may actually start abusing, and will actually introduce systems to counter this. There's also the greed only loot system, where players will no longer have the need option available to them, only greed, and that's very interesting. All three looting systems have been taken into consideration for months of player feedback, and hopefully it should make it simpler to address everyone's issues that we may have had. So on to the 3.0 Heavensward schedule. As we all know, we're going to have early access on the 19th, followed by the official launch on the 23rd. However, Alexander Normal will only be available after 2 weeks of official release. Alexander Normal will be similar to how the Crystal Tower is, where you can run it continuously over and over again for loot without any lockouts. And this is why I believe that the token system is going to be for the Savage mode and not for the hard mode. Another 2 weeks after that, Alexander Savage mode will be released alongside the Allegan Tombstones of Esoterics and the new Frontlines Arena. I just want to give a massive shout out to Cynge, I think that's how you pronounce his name, who did the unofficial live translation for this live letter and managed to give us a few bits of new information that wasn't in any of the slides that were shown. A link to his YouTube channel and Twitch channel will also be in the description box down below, so please do check him out, as this video wouldn't have been here without his help. And that pretty much covers everything that was in live letter 20. So let me know how you feel about this new information in 3.0 in the comment section down below, as this expansion is looking better and better as we get new information. So guys, as always, take care, and I'll see you all next time.